Ghana Civil Aviation Authority on this particular licensing for all the engineers to satisfy the requirements for practicing as an engineer. We hope that the exercise will go well. By the end of November, almost all engineers will be licensed accordingly, and then would satisfy the requirement by the Engineering Council of Ghana. All right, so straight, I would like to delve into the content and the classification of our career report today. We will diverse a bit into some necessary elements that you need to know. Ideally, these elements were supposed to have been given to you during your pre-examination workshop. We will not go so much into the details of a pre-examination workshop, but let's look at some of the elements that you need to know upon entering the institution, just to understand how at this level, in terms of examination and in terms of entering into becoming a corporate member, the things you need to know. As time goes on, God willing, if you're able to go through with your examinations and everything, would also be given guidance as to how to move within the institution. I believe some of you have known the institution for so many years before we even started our career. So, I believe you know a bit of them as well. Presentation outline. We will be looking at the requirements before your career progression in terms of career report writing. We'll look at what are the qualifying requirements that you need to know before you can start writing your career report. We'll also look into career report structure. Of course, that is what my boss, Engineer Boachi, mentioned, that I would be focusing on more of the skeletons and what it means of the elements in the career report writing. Then we would shift our attention to panel assessment on career report. Indeed, before you write the career report, you need to understand how the panel will assess your career report. So like a student, or a candidate writing an exam, if you understand how your lecturer thinks, it becomes easier for you to write your exams appropriately to suit what the lecturer requires of you so that you can successfully pass. So we'll look at panel assessment on career report and interview. So during the empanelment of the division, you need to know what they'll be looking at when they open your career report. We'll look into that. Then we'll look into the career report writing itself, that one by using a sample. So that will be the second part of today's seminar or training, and it will be handled by Engineer Benjamin Reko Esibe. That will be 2 to 4. And then each part, which is a part 1, and then the part 2, open floor for questions, discussions, and answers, just as my boss also enumerated. Without much ado, let's quickly go into the aspect of the career report. This is a professional progression before career report writing. Well, we are gender biased. We have female engineers. Our director is an engineer. So we have the image of the female engineer and that of the male engineer as well. Well, in order to proceed on the career report itself, you need to understand the various divisions. You know, the Ghana Institute of Engineering have different professional practices in the engineering institution or the fraternity here in Ghana. Upon the Engineering Council Act 819, it established all these various divisions under it. We want to note that Ghana Institute of Engineering is an engineering licensing body, whereas Engineering Council is the council put in place by government to like just as we have the medical council and we have the Ghana Bar Association and all that. I mean, that is the general legal council for the lawyers, and then we have the Ghana Bar. So the council, Engineering Council, is the utmost power that is actually given by government, which is by the state, to license engineers. But you see, because they are a council and they do not constitute an examining body itself, then they have given that power or prerogative to Ghana Institution of Engineering, and then Institution of Engineering Technology, which is the IET. So currently here in Ghana, we do have two bodies responsible for licensing of engineers who want to practice. So you cannot directly go to Engineering Council and say, I want to license myself. You have to pass through these two institutions, which is the Ghana Institution of Engineering. And then, of course, we do have a lot of us being within the Ghana Institution of Engineering, depending on your background and depending how you would want also your career to progress. You find yourself in any of these institutions. Well, we are with the Ghana Institution of Engineering. We have basically 4 divisions under Ghana Institution of Engineering in terms of professional practice. We have the Civil Engineering Division. We have the Mechanical Agric Engineering Division. We have the Electrical Electronic Engineering Division, and we have the Chemical and Mining Engineering Division. These are the 4 engineering divisions and the Ghana Institution of Engineering. But if you look at the practice of engineering, we do have various practices of engineering. I mean, when you look under the context of civil, we do not only have only these 4 engineering practices in Ghana, or let me say, only these 4 professional practice of engineering in Ghana. Well, for my little background and exposure, I know that we have close to 20 specific engineering disciplines as Ghana have exploited so far. I know KNUST currently is running 18 specific engineering specializations. Okay, so when you look at the context of the 4 engineering divisions, we have other professional practices under the 4 divisions. So when you take civil engineering, for instance, under civil engineering, you would have other professional practices under civil engineering division. When you take mechanical agric engineering, we will have other professional practice under that division. When you take electrical electronic engineering division, we have other. For instance, when you take electrical and electronic engineering division, we have those who read biomedical engineering, the professionals who are involved in managing and maintaining hospital facilities. We have them under the electrical electronic division, engineering division. And so we also have computer engineers or computer engineering. They also find themselves under electrical electronic engineering division. We have telecom engineering, those who read BSc Telecom or BNG Telecom. They also find themselves under the electrical electronic engineering division, for instance. So under the electrical electronic division, we have like 4 or 5 specific practices under the electrical electronic division. And of course, we also have the electrical electronic engineering program, or the BSc electrical electronic or BNG electrical electronic, also under that division, if you look at it critically. Under, for instance, chemical and mining engineering division, we have those who read petroleum engineering, they are under that division. Those who read chemical engineering itself are under that division. Those who read mining engineering are under that division. Those who read petrochemical engineering are under that division. If anyone read anything like related to chemical or mining, the person will find himself under that division. So when you look at it clearly and you want to expatiate, for instance, like the mechanical agriculture engineering division encompasses those who read aerospace engineering. So if you have read aerospace engineering and you're undergraduate and you want to apply to become a PE, you would have to apply. You have to know that you will find yourself under the mechanical agriculture engineering division. And if you read mechanical itself or agric engineering, you find yourself there. For instance, under mechanical engineering, KNUST, I know, is now running industrial engineering separately. They are also running automobile engineering separately. They are running the energy systems and thermofluids engineering separately as a BSc. So when you look at it critically, you can see that all those specific portfolios will find themselves under the Mechanical Agriculture Engineering Division. Civil, you have geological, you would have geomatic engineering. All those sort of engineering will find itself under Civil Engineering Division. We have under Civil Transport Engineering, Transportation Engineering. We have Water and Waste Engineering. They are all under Civil Engineering Division. So for the purpose of narrowing it down to us, those of us here, we are all basically, we find ourselves under the Electrical Electronic Division. But for the purpose of those of our colleagues in the electrical section in GhIE, I know some of them may have acquired BSc Mechanical Engineering. So, well, it does not mean that you cannot find yourself with our department and the same can be with GhIE. It means that during your career report writing, you need to indicate that you find yourself in Mechanical Engineering Division. Please note that very carefully. When you are writing your career report, at the front page, you need to determine the technical division that you find yourself. And if you are having a BSc or BEng, electrical electronic engineering or electronic engineering or whatever, some have instrumentations and control engineering as a degree. If you have that, you would have to write electrical and electronic engineering division. But if you had read mechanical engineering, and for instance, you work with air condition unit under the electrical, and you have mechanical engineering, you don't have to state electrical electronic engineering division. You have to state mechanical engineering division. But that we've said, we can have electrical and we can have mechanical engineering personnel working under electrical section because we have plants and we have air conditioning and refrigeration, other services engineering. All right. Now let's quickly move into career in terms of progression. Before you can write your career report, you need to know the membership routes. And the membership routes is that we have several membership routes, but one of the first membership routes is what we are going to discuss. We'll discuss other ones that you will use to be able to enter into the institution. And for the stream of professional engineers, we can see membership routes, professional engineer. Now, for you to be a PE, you need to have an accredited BSc degree in engineering or approved equivalent. What we mean is that you may have conducted a particular, or you may have attended a particular university and you have taken a course of Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering, Bachelor of Science in Electrical Electronic Engineering, Bachelor of Science in Telecom Engineering, Bachelor of Science in Communication Engineering, or Bachelor of Science in Industrial Controls Engineering. When you find yourself with that qualification, then it means that you can qualify to becoming a trainee professional engineer, which is the TPE. All right, so the TPE here means that upon your graduation, you must have submitted some necessary requirements to the Ghana Institute of Engineering to become a graduate member. Becoming a graduate member is the same as the trainee professional engineer. Once you become a graduate member, it means that you are in the stream of being training to becoming a professional engineer. For that matter, I know most of you have submitted those documents already, but for the purpose of those joining who haven't done that or haven't done so, you are supposed to submit your certificate, which was awarded to you by that particular tertiary institution. You submit your certificate, you fill a form, and the form you indicate TPE, trainee professional engineer. You add 2 passport pictures. And then, of course, you need to also add your CV. And the CV will give them a clear indication about who the particular person is. Now, this is where it becomes tricky. Someone may ask, well, if I'm in my final year pursuing a top-up degree in electrical electronic engineering, telecom or communications engineering, what do I do? It will mean that you need to have attained the degree before you apply for the TPE, because the institution will vet the degree. When you send it to them, they will call that particular institution that you attended to verify indeed, even the certificate that you are submitting to them is indeed correct. That verification will be done. And if you are submitting your forms without the certificate, then it means that you cannot gain the TPE standing or training professional engineering standing. It is very important to know that you need to acquire the first degree before you can become the TPE. Then after acquiring the TPE position or status, you would have to spend 2 years in terms of acquiring knowledge to move into the next stage. The 2 years will be involving practical training, 1 year position of responsibility before you can move to the next step. So when you look at the diagram, you can see that from TPE downwards, you are going into 2 years practical training plus 1 year position of responsibility. In the case of, for instance, my team or my batch that I came with, looking clearly at the number of years you have spent, like you have spent 2 years here. So indeed, if you had spent some number of years in the field before coming here, and you had also applied being a TPE before coming here, it means that you clearly qualify because you had been a TPE and you have actually practiced that number of years before coming here. So adding the number of years that you have also acquired here, then you can add it up to becoming the qualifying to go to the next stage, which is the professional engineering examination. All right. So that is that for those who have the first degree. We also have what we call the professional engineering technologies, which is the PET. Now, but before you become a professional engineering technologist, you must have acquired an HND, which is Higher National Diploma in Electrical Engineering, Telecom Engineering, or Mechanical Engineering. In this case, I'm bringing Mechanical Engineering in that there are some of our colleagues at Electrical who may have a Mechanical Engineering background. In this case, you may also have, we have equivalent HND approved certifications, like Part 3. We have Electrical Electronic Engineering Technicians Part 1, Part 2, Part 3. But if you have done the Part 3, it is equivalent to HND. And if you have done the Mechanical Engineering Technicians Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, and you have had the Part 3, it is equivalent to the HND. So that is why we say accredited HND in engineering or approved equivalent. That would allow you to becoming a member of the Ghana Institution of Engineering. So with that, you will need to apply. When you pick the form, you see the form having a TPET, which is Trainee Professional Engineering Technologist, TPET. So when you pick the form, you take that side, then you fill the other part of the forms. Indeed, you need to also submit a core document. You need to submit your HND or your Part 3, in addition with 2 passport pictures and your CV, attach it to it, and then submit it to the institution. Not to forgetting the earlier one, you need to, after successful submission, you'll be given a number, which will be your identification with the institution. All references are made to your number in the institution. So when you have your number, it gives you the identity. So with the TPE and the TPET, you'll be given a number as well. And examination is also conducted for that. And when the examination is conducted, you would also, before you apply to write for the examination for the TPE or for the PET, Professional Engineering Technologies, you must have also qualified with a requisite 2 years of practical training and then 1 year of responsibility, position of responsibility. Then you proceed in applying for the PET. So when you look at the form, you also have a PET side, then you apply on the PET. Now, when you become a PET upon successful examination, then you move in practicing the PET as a professional engineering technologist, you can also proceed and grow in the Ghana Institute of Engineering by becoming a senior professional engineering technologist. What it means is that if you have acquired 10 years in practice as a professional engineering technologist, you can then apply to the institution under your technical division to becoming a senior professional engineering technologist. The same applies for earlier on the professional engineer. When you become a professional engineer and you have practiced for 10 years, you can then apply to becoming a senior professional engineer. Now, let me be critical about this. To be honest with you, in various organizations and institutions in Ghana here, talk about ECG, talk about VRE, talk about GhIE, talk about the power producers and other industries here in Ghana specifically. Certain positions are given to you in the organization when you have attained the requisite requirements here. For instance, ECG and other places, if you have attained and GhIE and VRE for what I know on record, for you to be a district engineer who hold that position or regional engineer or whatever position, you must have acquired a PE status or PE position. Either than that, you will not graduate or you will not migrate. And it is important that for them, even for you to attain a certain position like a key manager, regional director, or a director of a section or whatever, you must have practiced for very specific years, attaining either SPE, which is a senior professional engineer, or you are close to that. Now, sometimes you may have not spent 10 years in your career, but you may have also a huge knowledge and articulated knowledge in the field, probably even more than someone who have attained 15 years in the field. So these things are considered, before you are promoted in such organizations. And I know that in most of those organizations, in order for you to attain those positions, at the various interview levels, the Ghana Institute of Engineers bring their members who are on the professional committees to be part of the interview to ascertain whether you have acquired that requisite standing before the Ghana Institute of Engineering, before you can move to that level. And I believe very strongly that as time goes on, we would also be able to streamline our works well within the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority. And then in the aspect of we all becoming professional members, whether SPE, PE, or PET or SPET, very soon we would be able to achieve that. And this is also part of the exercise to satisfy those requirements as practiced in other professional engineering organizations. It is also important to note that it is not only people who are having first degree or HND or EET3, MET3 that can attain a membership with the Ghana Institute of Engineering. If you have technician diploma, which is maybe part 1, part 2, or diploma in any engineering discipline, you can also become a member of the Ghana Institute of Engineering. And this is your membership route. Engineering technician, that is the let me say classification you find yourself, or yes, occupational group you find yourself. And you will follow suit the same procedure by also submitting your diploma, attach it with your passport pictures and your CV by filling a form, the Ghana Institute of Engineering form, taking the TET. The TET means that you want to become trainee engineering technician. So we need to know the difference. Now, those of our colleagues with the HND, the Ghana Institute of Engineering say that you classify to becoming trainee professional trainee engineering, what do you call it, technologists. So you find yourself in that category. But if anyone has a qualification below, just directly below that of diploma, HND or part 3, then you find yourself within the engineering technician group. With that, you have to also be in TET for 3 years, being trained and gathering the requisite engineering experience before you can apply to write the professional exams. And that will be a presentation, interview, and written examination before you can be certified as an licensed engineering technician. Of course, there's also a progression rate that you can also grow in the institution by becoming a senior engineering technician. You see, with the Ghana Institute of Engineering, every practitioner has his or a way to progress in the institution. What this also means is that when you become from the progression rate of the PE, you become the SPE. From SPE, you can become a fellow. When we say a fellow, it means that you have extinguished and you have really shown your merits in engineering practice in Ghana. And for that matter, when we are looking for the axioms of engineering or leadership in engineering, you have satisfied that requirement. And so for that institution would actually award you with a fellow. That is after from SPE, you become a fellow. And it comes with a lot of weight. It comes with a lot of opportunities. It comes with a lot of responsibilities as well. For some time, I think for the knowledge, for my information, I think we have acquired that fellowship with our Civil Aviation Authority. The past DG was a fellow of the Ghana Institution of Engineers. And I believe strongly that very soon, the current and then some of the directors would also attain that position because they have experience, they have the requisite knowledge in the engineering field as well. Okay, so quickly, moving into the career report itself. Now we have come to clear the air concerning where you find yourself. I believe by the time we end the presentation, you can ask your question with respect to that area. So what is the details of the career report? Now, every report have a front page or cover page. Now, some people before entering into Ghana Institute of Engineering may have some certain title. It could be reverend, it could be professor, it could be doctor in terms of acquiring a PhD. And now the fellow is now writing the Ghana Institute of Engineering exam. So I remember last year, I was with a technical panel and some of the lecturers with Commercial Technical University and another, and also with Ken University were now writing their engineering professional exam. So for that matter, the person may write Dr. Mesbau Adamu or Dr. Isaac Wache or Dr. Fidelis Atia. In that case, you have your doctor, you have to present your doctor because your licensing title name will be given to you based on the qualification that you have attained. So if you're a professor, you can even state you're a professor, that's your title. But if you have not attained those titles, then you have to keep it Mr. Besmakotu. That is the front page, the cover page. So you have your title and your full name, and then your GhIE number. So in the case of those who have, applied and they have gotten the status of a TPE, then it means that you need to keep your TPE number, not your TPE number, but GhIE number that you attained during your TPE. So you attach that accordingly. All right, then you have your current address. Now, current address, mostly we advise that you use your current organization that you work in. So, the second part, when Engineer Sibe takes us through, you will see clearly how it is done. So you attach your current address in terms of where you work, where you practice. So, for instance, Ghana Civil Aviation Authority, PMB, blah, 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 blah. But in the case of those who are in outstations, you can also use your private mailbox, which is quite reliable, or if you believe strongly that you have a PMB at the outstations, then you can use the PMB, which is a private mailbox in the outstations. Then your email. You need to use a reliable email address, because this is the email address the institution would be corresponding with you or will be communicating with you. And then where we're talking about the technical area of focus. So you write technical area of focus, then you put 2 dots there, then electrical electronic division, mechanical agriculture engineering division. That's just as I said earlier on. So please take note when you are writing yours, you need to state electrical electronic engineering division or mechanical engineering division. Then we come to the personal data. The personal data will be your date of birth. In terms of your full name will come your date of birth, your sex, your nationality, if you're Ghanaian. Of course, Ghana Institution of Engineers does not license only Ghanaians. You could be of any nationality or origin. If so far as you want to practice in this country as an engineer, you would have to attain that license. So if the institution or the engineering council is to really penalize people, we see a lot of the foreign expatriates who do not have license, but they are practicing in Ghana, they would have also faced the penal measures as well. So indeed, well, I remember during our time when we were doing our induction, we saw a couple of white people, white men, who were also inducted with us because they are practicing in Ghana as engineers now, as a requirement. It's the same thing everywhere. Wherever you go in the world, before you can practice in America as an engineer, you have to go and write their exam, the professional engineering exam in America, even if you're an expatriate, before you can practice there. So it's the same thing everywhere. All right, then your nationality, then business address. This is where you bring Ghana Civil Aviation Authority in it. So that's your business address. Then you come to educational background, the name of school, educational background, you know the qualification, name of school, dates attended. I mean, that part, after the full name, date of birth, sex, nationality, business address, that educational background, name of school, date attended, certificate awarded, year of award will come into the details of the report itself, not the front page, please. The engineer CPA will, I mean, we have a confined one. The engineer CPA's career report will show you really the practical one. Then you have the professional affiliations. Now, for instance, most of us who are about migrating to that level are professional members, or we are members of the Ghana Air Traffic Safety Electronics Association. So in that case, professional affiliations, you put it there. Then if you also form yourself under, I know electrical also have their own professional affiliation. They have their professional association there. Then also, they also add that one day as well. So those in electronics will put the GhIE, those in the electrical will put their own electrical association there. And if you find yourself with any other body, for instance, if you find yourself with IEEE, you have to add it there, or find yourself with any other professional body, I'll put that under the professional affiliation. So when we say professional affiliation, it is any professional group that you belong to, whether it's a group that certify you to practice in a specific region or a specific area of focus, or it is just an engineering practice group or an engineering activist group or movement group, you can still put it under the professional affiliation, but it must be registered or it must be identified as a license or as an accredited group before you can keep it. So if you have your own, what do you call, WhatsApp group that you do your own thing and it's not registered or whatever, you cannot come and put it here. Like you have boys group, then you come and put it here. It's not a professional affiliation group, I beg you. So, girls Sikasa, then come and put it there. No, it has to be a professional affiliation group because you'll be vetted. Please, we are taking note that every detail you put on your career report will be subjected to scrutiny by the technical panel who will interview you. So everything you put here would either make you or make you during your career report, during your technical review, which is the interview. So you have to be careful what you put there. Then the name of organization, membership status, dates of membership. So in need, if you are putting a professional group, you know that, or professional affiliations, name of organization, membership status, whether you are a member, senior member, you're a fellow, you're honorary fellow, you have to put it there. And the date that you became a member of that professional group. Indeed, if your technical panel who will be interviewing you is very vociferous and they are very critical, they can even search to identify that professional group and to ascertain whether indeed it exists or you are indeed even a member of that professional group. If you are not and you place them here, it means that you find yourself wanting. So after having that, then you go to chronological report of engineering career. This is where you would detail your engineering practice. Very, very important. Now, indeed, it is important to detail every practice, whether you are even an apprentice, whether you are doing an apprenticeship, internship, or you went to a technical school and then after that you were work, all that you have to state. You have to state it right from the point you started having an exposure to engineering. That is where you start. You would record. So you will have to detail it from the oldest to the latest, or from the last time that you practiced, let's say the first time you practiced to the last time that you find yourself within that specific engineering career. So you detail it. That's why it says that you can provide 2,500 to 3,000 words. So this is where you have extensive. So it could be 5 or 6 or 10 engineering career practice. Probably in the year 2001, you were an apprentice in Moscow Electronics Limited, learning electronics repairs. So you have to put it there. In that case, we'll show you the format. When we show you the format, you would have to state Moscow Electronics Limited in the year 2000. You have to state the year. You have to state all those conditionalities. You state all those details there. So what I'm trying to say is that you have to state all specific engineering experience you have gathered. You state it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You state the details in them. We'll show you how the details also ought to be done. And we also have what we call the continuous professional development. Now, the continuous professional development is actually the development you have attained when you became a trainee professional engineer. Okay, so you might have acquired some experience before becoming a graduate member. But when you are identifying the continuous professional development, we normally ascertain it from when you had become a TPE or when you had acquired a degree. So I said that because most of us may have not joined the institution as a TPE. That is exactly when we graduated. We didn't join directly. So in that case, you had acquired some training in your engineering field. You have developed yourself, or the organization developed you, but you had not indicated it, or you had not become a member of the Ghana Institute of Engineers, which is a trainee professional engineer. For instance, GhIE particularly, for instance, is a very an example of an organization that trains you. So in a case where you had attained the degree earlier on, but you had not become a member of the Ghana Institute of Engineers, meaning you had not acquired the status of a TPE, yet you can still classify the basic training, the equipment training, the system training, and other trainings that the organization gives you or the department gives you. Those can also classify itself as a continuous professional development. Now, indeed, all these training have points. We call them CPD points. Now, depending on the number of hours that you attain that training, those hours are converted into points. Now, before you can actually become a PE, you must provide the CPD points you have attained before you can become, or you can even apply for a PE, apply for the examination in that case. So that is just to inform you. So when you are writing your own, all the trainings that you had, Norway, Belgium, wherever you had, you can put it in there. And the number of hours spent on those training can be converted into CPD. So Engineer Sibe will show you, because he happened to also have a clear example when he had attained some traineeships and other things. And based on that, he was able to use that to convert it to CPD points as well. So he will show you during his second part. Then you also, list training programs in the last 3 years. Of course, you do have a lot of experience, 15 years, 10 years in terms of training experience. You may not be able to bring all of them, but you look at because we are looking at when you became a TP, you might have practiced for 2 to 3 years before you apply for a position of a PE, what is apply for the exams to become a PE. So in that case, we will not be much interested in beyond 3 years, what you had acquired in terms of CPD points. So you have to restrict it to 3 years, because your scrutiny will be more based on when you became a TP for the 3 years, what you have done so far. All right. You remember when I earlier said you need to state, at this point, I told you need to state chronological report of engineering career. I said you can state from when you became an apprentice, you were following some master, if it's registered or whatever, you can state all those ones. Now, when you come here, you can see that we have stated that details of most important career experiences. What it means is that in that case, if you have gathered 10 working, not years, so 10 working experiences, meaning you have worked with 10 different organizations in different capacities, being an apprentice, being an intern whilst you were in school, or being, conducting your national service, or probation, or whatever it is. All those experiences had earlier been enumerated as all your career experience. That is all your general career experience. However, when it comes to the most important career experiences, you restrict them to when you had attained a degree. Because that is where we would basically, or when you had attained the HND or the degree, that is where we are trying to look at in context of the purview of your professional practice as an engineer. So you try to restrict it to when you had attained the HND or when you had attained the degree. Of course, you cannot use when you were doing your apprenticeship as the most important career experience. Of course, so you need to start the most important career experiences from when you had attained the degree, because it is believed that you can practice so much well when you have attained the requisite knowledge. You might have probably conducted yourself like let there be light, there was light practice. But when you attained a certain qualification, HND or Part 3 or degree, you got to understand Ohm's law, how it plays part in our daily activities as electronic engineers or electrical engineers. You have attained some principles on discrimination when it comes to fusing and all that. So you not just wake up and then pick any size of cable and start using it for fuse or using it for fusing. So when you say details of most important career experiences, you restrict it to when you had acquired a Part 3, HND, or first degree. In that case, you state the organization. You state the object of business. Now, let's trickle it down to us. For instance, if you are determining the object of business, our own is the aviation industry. So name organization, Ghana Civil Aviation Authority. Object of business is the aviation industry. Number of engineers employed. Indeed, if you are going to state 3 in the most important career experiences. All these three most important career experiences, you need to state the organization's name: GCA, Ghana Gas, Coca-Cola. You need to state all these ones. And you need to provide all the information that we have enumerated down here. So, for instance, if Miss Juby Ellen had worked with Ministry of Energy, which of course, at the time she had acquired her degree, she would state that as most important career experience. So in that case, name of organization would be Ministry of Energy, object of business, energy, number of engineers employed. So then you would have to probably call back and identify, when we say number of engineers employed, here we are not stating engineers with first degree or whatever. You are stating licensed engineers. Please take note. You are now stating licensed engineers. So in the case of GCA, you are supposed to identify the licensed engineers in GCA and keep them there. And when, please take note when I say number of engineers, and in that case, licensed engineers, I already said that when you have, you want to become a licensed engineer in Ghana, you can become a licensed engineer in Ghana through Ghana Institute of Engineers or Institute of Engineering Technology. So if someone licenses himself through engineering technology, Institute of Engineering Technology, that person is also a licensed engineer. For that matter, you can also count that person in addition. So for instance, our section or department, for instance, ATSC, I know my boss that I work under, that is Engineer Frederick Opoku. He is a licensed engineer under IET. So in that case, when you are counting the number of engineers within the department, or let's say not the department alone, the organization, you have to count him in addition to it. But then you cannot use, okay, well, you have a degree, you have a degree, so we are counting you as part of the engineers. I think that side is quite clear. So you count the licensed engineers, both IET and both GhIE. Then you give the general structure of the organization. General structure of the organization, what the organization is into and how it operates. And then you go to personal engagement. That is what your portfolio or what you really do in terms of your personal engagement, what you do in that organization. Then outline of work engaged. So you state specifically. So this is more of an expansion of a CV where you are stating what specifically you have been doing over the years. So over the past 3 years, what you have been doing, you will state it within that outline of work engaging. Then you will state your position. Please, if you are not given the position of an engineer and you are given a position of a craftsman or a technician or whatever, you need to put it as such. Whatever status that you are given, just keep it as such in the document, because it will be verified and it will be ascertained when you are submit the career report. Okay, so then you will need to state your supervisor. So for instance, in case of my folks at Navis, for instance, if you are applying and they are to state your supervisor, of course, you have our boss, Engineer Frederick Opoku, to be your supervisor. And here it says that your supervisor must be a PE, a PET, or ET. PE is a professional engineer, must be a professional engineering technician, a technologist, or must be an engineering technician. So if you have a boss who may not necessarily have the title ING or ENGR, it does not mean that the person cannot be placed here as your supervisor. So you may have a supervisor, for instance, my colleagues at PABX, and you have a supervisor, Mr. Christopher Aguaje, and he happens to have attained or having to have applied and have any of these status. It means that you're supposed to put, yes, you can put Mr. Christopher Aguaje. However, he is yet he's still your supervisor and it can be contextualized as such. So it may not necessarily be someone with an ING or ENGR or whatever, but so far as the person classifies himself or have attained that status with Ghana Institute of Engineers or IET, you can classify the person as such and put the person there as such. Your responsibilities under that particular organization or that department, you need to state that, your responsibilities. Then your relationship with other similar ranks. In fact, before you even state your relationship with similar ranks, you state your relationships with superiors, and then your relationship with similar rank. So those with you, well, I mean, those who have the similar rank with you, how you relate with them, you will state it. You are a team player, you have a cordial relationship with them, you have a good and smooth relationship with them, you state all those things there. Of course, they are not there to verify whether you are not cool with them or you are cool with them. But based on, I mean, when it gets to there and the technical panel is interrogating you, they can find a way to test your demeanor, to test your personality, just to see whether indeed what you have stated there is true. So they could give you a scenario that, assuming you have worked with a subordinate who is unwilling, or we have worked with a colleague who is unwilling to heed to instruction. For instance, you have a colleague and your manager or your boss tells you to give them an information that they should do this or do that, but they are not willing to listen to that instruction. Yet this is the same colleague probably who also gossips about you to the superior, or the colleague who also feels that he has the corporate power, which is the political power in the organization, to influence his or her way. And so that colleague is not willing to listen to you because it is coming from you, it is not coming directly from your boss. Because sometimes it happens such that you may be a colleague to someone, but because of your experience and exposure and some opportunities may come your way that information will be given to you rather than your colleagues. And if you are giving that information and they are not willing to listen, what will you do? This is a typical example the technical panel can ask you. Based on your answer, they will be able to know whether indeed you are having a good relationship with your similar rank or not, or otherwise. They will easily identify that. And in a case where they also want to ascertain whether you have good relationship with superiors or your subordinates, they would give you a typical scenario where indeed you'll be ascertained whether you have a good relationship with your subordinate or not. It's very important to also note that as well. All right, and we have, if you have conducted some research works, you have had some designs, you have done any publication, you can also identify or cite that publication there. It has to be, you have to note that if you have done any work like that, you keep it there, but you must be ready to prove and explain that work when you are questioned on that. So you have to put the information you have master over, you have control over. You have done some research or publication with someone and you have not read the document fully entirely and you come and put it there, you shoot yourself by the foot. So details of also important designs, probably during your degree, first degree, you did some important design and then you were able to achieve some milestone with the design. You can keep it also here of the most important designs that you have done. It will give you an addition, a hands-on. So if you have designed a software that does something, you can also keep it there. Whatever you have done in your engineering career, I mean, you can keep it there for records. Next important thing, you can see that bolding that enumerate career challenges, both technical and administrative. This is where, after stating your most important career experiences, whether 3 or 4 or 2 or 1, you would state your career challenges. I think last year or last 2 years, I sat on a technical panel and we're reviewing those becoming PEs. And you realize that the career report didn't have the career challenges. And on our mark sheet that we will use to score you, you would have to state the career challenges because there is no practice that you engage in and you will not have challenges. Because if you don't have challenges, you will not have growth. So we would also want to understand career challenges, both technical, whether when you started working, it was difficult for you to grasp your technical knowledge, and how you were able to travail beyond that challenges. So there will be a section where we would also show you major challenges, lessons learned, and achievement. As you can see down there, I've also indicated it there. But when you come here, if you don't enumerate it, you cannot state the challenges. We want to highlight your strengths. So in highlighting your strengths, you don't know it all. When you started your career, you don't know it all. Like for instance, those of us who just started working in the aviation industry or environment, if we're to be writing the career report, and at this point, you could possibly place the challenges in probably grasping some technical knowledge or various too many acronyms or whatever your challenges were, you can put it there. So technical challenges, constitute your inability or the difficulty in grasping the technical skills, which is the culture of work there. And then the administrative. The administrative could be any challenges. In some organizations, you have most of the experienced engineers or most of the experienced technical people to be having a qualification of sometime below even HND. What we realize is that most of those who have attained a degree or HND, when they find themselves in such environment and they start their practice, they have a lot of challenges because they are mostly seen as, oh, you just came from school and now you have been given this title or you have been given this acronym or you have been given this position. And for that matter, it will be difficult for you to practice. We know these things. So when the panel is there and we are asking these questions, or we are trying to review your career report, we look at some of these problems that are purely, they come up in the engineering practice or industry you find yourself. And how did you deal with it? How did you go about that particular challenge? For instance, so you will state your challenge and in the order of how it happened, and whether technical or administrative. The administrative is what I've enumerated to you, and how, for instance, maybe you were in an organization where you were given the position of an engineer. You may not have necessarily acquired enough knowledge in the organization, but then you went in because of qualification, even in the position of an engineer. But your subordinates are not willing to listen to your instructions, simply because in that case, what did you do? And how did you go about overcoming that challenge or that problem? Or probably you worked in an organization whereby it's a one-man business. That is most important career experiences. You work in an organization, it's a one-man business. The person is a businessman, he's not an engineer. So it's difficult for the person to make good engineering decisions. And for that matter, it became your administrative problem. How did you overcome that? You can also state that also there as well. When you come also, you say details of activities in that organization, you need to state it. Your practice and understanding of engineering in planning, design, production, construction, installation, fabrication, testing, commissioning, maintenance, operation, research, or sales of engineering products. Depending on which industry you find yourself, and specifically what you are doing in that industry, as on the time when you are writing your most important careers, you have to choose what you did. For instance, if you were working with a generator company, a plant company, and you were responsible for installation, testing, commissioning, and maintenance of plants, you state it there as such. But we would also want to inquire and see specifically what standards, codes, manuals, and handbooks did you use when you were installing, testing, commissioning, and maintaining that particular plant? What did you do? What manuals did you use? What standards did you use? For instance, you tell us that, well, you have installed a 40 kVA generator, what cable size did you use, and what principle did you base to choose that cable size? Did you use from the plant to the changeovers and all that? What cable size did you use? How did you determine that cable size? Before you even cited a 40 kVA generator, what really did you do to be able to determine that you were supposed to cite a 40 kVA generator? You needed a 40 kVA generator over there. You understand? So for those of us in electrical, for instance, if you are to put that there, your most important career point, you need to understand how you do load evaluation. And based on that load evaluation, you'll be able to determine your load demand, and the load demand will determine your plant capacity that you need to buy. You need to look at all those contexts because you'll be asked how it came about. Because the panel, most especially based on the panel, your career report, they will select members of the panel who have the requisite skills and experience. You might have someone from G&J Technical Services to be sitting on the panel because you are from electrical and you have electrical background. You might have someone from ECD sitting on the panel, an engineer, regional engineer, or district engineer, or whatever professional engineer, established professional engineer to be on the panel. And the person will push you to the wall. So you must know what you are putting in there. And specifically, this is something that we all need to take note. In your engineering practice, how did you apply health, safety, and environmental standards? We call something GhIE in engineering. All professional engineers know the GhIE code or the GhIE standards. It means that in any engineering design, installation, testing, fabrication, or maintenance or operation, you have to apply the principle of GhIE. Safety, GhIE means, is an acronym, safety, health, and environment. And in the assessment document, when we are assessing you, there is a part, in fact, this particular part, the reason why I highlighted it is that you give marks. It encompasses a very high mark. So when your career report, if you didn't state it, and we are also questioning you and able to tell, you lose a lot of marks. This is where sometimes a lot of people fail to do and they fail because the health has its own marks is given, safety, environment standards has its own marks is given. So when you're writing it, you need to state how you applied health principles, which is the HSQ standards, and then how you were able to apply safety standards and the environmental, doing consideration of the environment, what you took into consideration before citing a particular plant or whatever you did. It's very important to note that. Then the compliance with the Code of Ethics of Ghana Institute of Engineering. So this is where those of you who have attained the TPE standards, you need to learn the Code of Ethics. Every profession of ethics, and then GhIE as a professional engineer have Code of Ethics. So you must have stated the Code of Ethics that you also stated or you applied during your most recent career experience. Okay. Then where we come back to the major challenges that we earlier said, whether technical or administrative, you need to state the lessons that you learned and then the achievements that you took. And that is where you would highlight your own strength. That is where you highlight your own capabilities. That is where you highlight your own star. You do your own stardom over there. Very important to do that. So that can also affect how the panel will see you and how they would also appreciate you. All right, so we'll go into the panel assessment on career report itself. So having said this, this is basically the elements in the career report. Now, just to chip in something small before we go to the panel assessment, you would also need to, at the last part of the report, you need to add what we call organogram. The organogram of the organization starts on the top. The board, the director general, specifically we are narrowing down to Ghana Civil Aviation Authority, the board, the director general, and the deputy director generals, which is the F&A and technical, the organogram, that is how it goes. Then from the deputy director generals, we are under the technical. So you narrow the tree down to technical. Under the technical, we have safety, we have the ATS, air traffic services, we have the air traffic safety engineering, and I think, yes, basically. So you would have to enumerate those department under the technical, the T. Under the T, we find ourselves at the data. The data, then you enumerate the key managers under them. So I think we have that. We have the organogram also there. So then you pick the organogram that we have. Engineer Sibe will highlight that one and show his specific own. You narrow it down under the managers, then you determine which manager that you work under. So if you work under maintenance manager, Mr. Tando, you narrow it down, you do the tree under Mr. Tando. If you work under comms, Mr. Isaiah, you narrow it down, or Mr. Anane Adalite, you narrow it down, or instead of Mr. Fred, you narrow it down. Then under Mr. Fred, then since Mr. Fred is your direct supervisor or your sectional supervisor, then you probably bring yourself. But within that section, if you also have your own structure of how you work also, and you have some other senior supervisor also other than manager who directly controls your work or directly determines what you do, then you can also bring that supervisor also there before you come to yourself. Then you would bring the tree down to yourself and then your name. For instance, Bismarck2, then I'll bring my tree under that. So that's how the tree will go. So Engineer Sibe will show us a practical example of that. It's important to have the organogram, because the institution will want to assess how you'll be growing in your organization and give you the necessary advice and support. All right. It's very important to identify that your progression from TPE to PE, or for your progression from trainee engineering technologists to engineering technologists, is basically based on three assessment formats. One of the assessment formats is actually the technical review, which will constitute 40% of your whole examination that you'll be doing. Then the general interview, which will constitute 30% of the examination, and then the essay, which will constitute 30%. When we say technical review, we are talking about the specific project work. No, so now, before it wasn't there. Before it was only the general interview and then the essay. But now, I think since 2018, 2019 or so, the first one, technical review, was brought in. Now, the technical review is a specific engineering project that you have conducted within the period of you being a graduate member. The specific engineering projects that you have conducted, or specific design you are still in the process doing, or something you have come up with, is what you would write a project on it. So it's just like the same thing when you were doing your HND or first degree, you wrote a project thesis or your project document on your work. It's the same thing you will write. So you will write. So you will write that document, and then you will submit that document during your presentation, because you submit a hard copy, and then you will be made to do a presentation on it. We'll tell you the minutes that you use, sometimes 10 minutes or 15 minutes, depending on the number of candidates who are conducting their exam that day. You'll be given 10 to 15 minutes to present a specific design. So for instance, maybe you have designed a database that actually identifies hackers, unethical hackers within the aviation industry or space. You can use that as your project work. Or probably you have built on your first degree research work. That is also a project work. So those of us who don't have a specific project work, you are supposed to, or you are into it, you have to identify some. It is important that as every engineer, you have a lifetime project. Every engineer, you need to have a lifetime project. So if you had identified that principle that you need to have a lifetime project, right from probably your first degree, when you acquired your first degree or HND, by now, you would have probably used that lifetime project for this particular presentation. Because by now, you would have attained some success, or you have reached somewhere that you can use it as your technical work. So that is where the technical review comes in. You would present a project work that you have done. So either you present it, the project work, a PowerPoint presentation will be done 10 to 15 minutes, but then you can also present the physical work as well. If you don't have the physical work, you need to show video evidence, images in it, because during that technical review, there is a column whereby when we are marking the candidates, we look at images. Which images does the person have to show? Because we don't want you to come and tell us English that you have done this, you have done that, but there's nothing to show. Or you just go and pick also, images from online, and you come and put it there that this is what you have done. Meanwhile, you have not done it. We want to see an image of your project or a video of your project where probably you are even involved. You are seen in the video or image that will show practically that this is your work. You show that particular project activity also there. It constitutes 40%, because if you're able to do well, present it well, panel will ask you questions on how you're able to do it, just the same way like it was done during your HND or your first degree, when your lecturers were asking you questions or verifying what you have done. Just the same thing, nothing more, nothing less. And then you go to the general interview itself. Then the general interview, this is where we'll pick your career report. We'll start asking you questions based on your career report. And more specifically, it will be narrowing down to the technical works. Okay, you said you have installed a 40 kVA generator. What did you do? How did you go about it? Blah, 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 blah. So we'll look at all your engineering experience. We'll ask you questions pertaining to the specific business that you were doing there, or the activities that you were conducting yourself there. Will be interrogated, you'll be asked questions. That is where your codes and your standards that you use to do that will be coming into place. So that is where you also need to take the general knowledge of the institution. During the general interview, which is a 30% marks, you need to even know the current president of the Ghana Institution of Engineers. At any particular point, we have president of the Ghana Institution of Engineering. Then we have president-elect of the Ghana Institute of Engineering. So currently we have engineer Reverend Professor Charles Adams, who is the president of the Ghana Institute of Engineers. He was inducted recently, some few months ago in Kumasi. He is the current president of the Ghana Institute of Engineers. And the president-elect was elected during the time that we were going to induct the president-elect. The president itself. So the president-elect is Engineer Kwabena Bimpong. The reason being that the president-elect would be understudying the president, who will be incumbent in office at that time, so that by the time he takes over, he understands the business of the institution. And that is the general concept of that. So you'll be asked all these questions, where even Ghana Institution of Engineers office is cited, the structure of Ghana Institution. So we will look into that when we are getting closer to the examination itself or to the interview itself. We'll probably, based on coordination with the team leads, we'll look at how we can present another version of this seminar so that you know some information before you go for the examination. Then current affairs. So current affairs, what is happening in Ghana, just like we go for any general interview, what is even happening in the Ghana Institute of Engineering could be a current affairs. So we have a website that you can go there, see current affairs, what is trending. That day, you can have a panel who will decide not to ask you current affairs in generality of the social life, but they can decide to ask you what really is happening in Ghana Institute of Engineering. For instance, our executive secretary has ended his appointment, Engineer Kwabena Japon. And then we are now looking for executive secretary. We are also looking for director of operations and other vacant positions. These are current trends in the Ghana Institute of Engineering, and you can have. Then you go to the essay. The essay is a question that you will be given. And mostly they give 6 questions in the essay. And then there's 6 questions, you have to choose one and answer it. And you are supposed to write at least 1,500 words. We will show you how to do it. Just as I said, we'll organize another seminar and show you. But this seminar is really, or training is really for the career report writing. But we'll show you before examination, specifically how you even write it. How you even, because there is a way the panel, which is the examiners, we look at it when we are marking it. So there's also a way you write it so that you can get 1,500 words and get exactly the way the examiners or the panel members are expecting, because there's a standard in which the panel members mark it. How we look at it, we will show you also with that one. Okay, so if you look at it critically, 40%, 30%, 30%, making 100%. It means that if you obtain 50% or more of the overall score, then you have passed. So assuming you get 20% on the technical review, you will get maybe 15% on the general interview, which will make it how many? 35%. And then you get 15% on the essay, you will get what? 50%, which means you have passed. But take note that obtaining 50% or more for technical review and one other component, when you attain less than 50% in any component, you have automatically failed, because it means that you will not have a cumulative 50% mark, pass mark. Then you have to resit for that failed component. And this, as I said, we have 3 components: essay, which is the engineering in society exams. Then we have the technical review. Then we have the general interview. If you fail in any of them, you have to resit it. And the institution will write to you and let you know you have failed when you fail, or they will identify you that you have failed. But I pray that as we all go through this process, no one in GCA should fail. And I'm very confident that we will go through it and nobody will fail for this particular batch. God willing, if we're able to do probably 2 sections of the examination before November, it means that by that time, all of us, those of us in Ghana Civil Aviation Authority, would have satisfied the requirement expected of us from Ghana, Engineering Council, Ghana. So nobody, there's no need to fear, there's no need to panic. We'll go through, we'll be able to successfully pass through. All right, so that is just about that also. This, as I said, technical review, which is a presentation, 10 minutes per candidate. You need to look at the writing of the technical report too. You would have content, specific project you did, activities, process and tasks, format, and then the presentation, how you presented it and all that. That is also it. So this, as I said, close to the interview or the exam period, we will conduct another webinar or training so that we'll show you how to write the technical report itself. So this is for career report, but we just wanted you to understand the overview of the whole set of examination on it as well. And then we have the general interview, the practice and understanding of engineering, which is the planning, design, production, construction, installation, fabrication, testing, commissioning, knowledge and understanding of standards and codes, manuals, handbooks, and others. So in this case, those of us in civil aviation, this is where we'll be playing with our CNS operation manuals. This is where we would have to bring equipment manuals in. So you would have to be citing equipment manuals as to specifications on how to site this particular system. If you had worked with a team on installing a particular system, what are the technical requirement manuals on those systems? What are also the IEC, which is the International Electromechanical Commission requirements on those systems? What are the ICAO requirements on those systems? That is where the questions will be narrowed down to your area of specification and the manuals. And this is the reason why it is important that when panels are set, they look out for experts in your field who have the requisite knowledge in your field or have the basic knowledge in your field to come on board as the technical panel, and they will question and interrogate on the specific manuals that you used. So assuming if I don't work with GCA, and then I tend to find myself on the panel and I'm beginning to ask questions, and you are bringing in CNS operation manuals, you are bringing in ICAO compliance and all that SAPs, and I don't understand. I cannot interrogate you much. I cannot ask you much. So GhIE is very particular with this. So they always bring panel members to who are specifically inclined to environment. And there's more reasons why we are trying to see how we can narrow the examination. But if you don't have the panel members with your specific environment, you can have problems because they may not understand what you are saying, and they may also take it differently since they don't understand what you're saying. They may not appreciate your value and appreciate your content as much as possible. If, God willing, we are able to have over 20 people who would actually pay for the examination, it means that we can then do the examination just here at our center, training center, which is the Carter, and then we'll be able to also, write to the institution that we expect that our panel members will be taken from civil aviation or any other affiliated institution to be able to understand and evaluate our members very well. So that is what we will also make sure we will do. And GhIE is also keen, even keener on that particular aspect. So the general interview was also the HAC I talked about, with the health, safety, and environment, or the same thing that we call GhIE, is also something that they will bring into code. And the area of practice, code of ethics, GhIE, relationship between the engineer and society, and current affairs. Please, it's very important that, you note how, as an engineer, how you have impacted society very positively. In fact, that is one of the things that it is considered when we are looking at bringing on board someone as an engineer. The reasons why we say, do a presentation, tell us what you have seen and solved in society. That really is making you believe that you can become a professional engineer. So what have you done? What project have you done? So it is all based on engineering. That's what we said, engineering in society projects that you present. And we look at the essay we have titled it Engineering in Society. All we are doing as engineers is to affect society positively. And then based on the interview, we would have to ascertain and confirm that particular engineering society passion that is in you, that you basically use to, or based on that, to conduct whatever you do at any point in time. So that will be assessed. And you need to know why you are taking this project, or you've done this, or you've done that, that the desire to change the course of society, and then bring a higher, where I call it lazyability rate, which is making people more comfortable in society, is what is based on it to assess an engineer of your ability to be licensed as an engineer. Very, very important to note that when you are looking at that. Okay, so a quick one. So just a quick one on that. You can see that we have general scoring guide. We have communication skills, we have oral communication, we have interpersonal skills, use of technical technologies, career report, presentation. These are facets of what you'll be required on. Please take note. When you are coming for the presentation, do not wear chalewete or wear some slippers or wear whatever, or African print or whatever. You know, some panel members, are particular with it because this is a professional license exam, like the lawyers or the doctors or whatever professional groups that we have in this country. And for that matter, if you are coming for it's because it's the same day that you write your exams, that's the same day you do your technical presentation, the same day you do your interview. So when you are coming, you need to dress appropriately, that you are going for a high-class professional interview. It is normally believed in the saying of engineers, they impeti. Then you see someone dressing in a certain way that you do not know whether the person feels is going for whatever, a game or a Sunday school, whatever. You don't understand sometimes, because I believe strong. During our time, 2018, I think, on the technical panel, some people were failed because of that, because they were wearing a slipper with a trouser and an African print, and the panel felt they didn't take the gravity of the interview seriously. So please, let no one argue or debate about you on your physical presentation. You have to dress well. Your suit, if you don't have a suit, a tie, and a nice shirt and a trouser and a shoe will do. If you have a suit, you put on your suit, whatever it is. That marks, you don't have to let anybody or the panel members to even argue on you or argue with you on that. And then your communication skills. Sometimes they say to engineers to bro for whatever. It doesn't matter. You have to take your time, slowly express yourself. You can use simple English. You don't have to use. It's not an English exams or debate. but use as much as possible simple English to express yourself and to appreciate whatever, because communication skills very important. And communication skills don't only the English that you are speaking. They will look at your interpersonal skills, your gestures, because during your presentation, how you are even using the pointer on the projector or on the board to be showing some things and explaining your concept and other things will let them know that you are into it and you know what you are talking about and you're communicating to them. Very, very, very important also on that aspect. Yes, just as I said, grammar, very important. Engineering practice and experience, 65, HSC and all that. So current affairs, duration will be 20 to 30 minutes. This is where we come to the end of the part 1 of our career report and examination tips. And indeed, we have considered, what have we considered today? What we have considered today is that we have considered the fact that before you can write your career report, you need to know the technical division you find yourself. And for that matter, those of us in electronics, mostly we are all going to be under electrical electronic engineering division. Those in electrical who are the acquired mechanical engineering degrees because they are with air condition or plant engineering, they also fall under mechanical and agric engineering division. And so the examination you write will be EEP or MEP. Okay. Then we have shown the progression pathway from those holding the degree that you will become a TP, and those having the TP already. You have to assess yourself that you have acquired the requisite years after graduation or after becoming a TP to be able to write that exam. Then you would also need to also assess the details of whether you are an acquiring, having an HND. I know some of our colleagues have HND and they are on their top up. And since they are on their top up, it means that before they can become a TP or they can write the professional exam, they need to have the degree first. So please just make sure you notice that you have the degree before you would fill the form for a PE, because when the form goes and then your career report, you need to state that you have finished school, and you will have to submit that records to Ghana Institution of Engineers for them to vet it before you be invited, even by mistake. If they invite you for the interview and the exams, that day you would have to submit, you have to go along with your certificates. And in some cases, you have to go with your certificate and national service certificate. So when you go and they are requesting for that and you don't have that, then it means that you are lying to the institution. And that is also a grievous situation. If you go and meet some controversial panel members, they will tag you and they will write a report on you, the reason why you were not allowed to conduct the interview and the presentation. For that, because they would also state that you had applied and gone through the process without the requisite degree. That means that you were just moving under false pretense. So if you are having a HND, you can pass. You have a place in the institution you have to pass through. So there's no need, if you have not acquired a degree yet, to jump to that level. You need to acquire that degree first, then you jump to that level. But if you are with HND now, you can still become a member of the institution, and you can get a number. You can get even a sticker. You put it on your card to show that you're a member of the Ghana Institution of Engineers. You can get all the benefits and the luxuries that is given to a membership of the institution to you as well. So just be attentive and pay attention on that. And then we've also talked about the ET, the engineering technician too. If you have a qualification below that, you can also do that. Please, we also have engineering craftsman. I didn't even add that one. Engineering craftsman. It means that if you have an MBTI CODVET certificate, MBTI CODVET intermediate certificate, or NAPTES certificate, you can still become a member of the Ghana Institute of Engineering. It is the reason why we are saying that from 2021 November, the Engineering Council and the Ghana Institute of Engineers is going to be very serious with the way they handle the issues of the institution. And so they will be bringing penal measures, because even if you're a craftsman on the roadside, you can become a member of the Ghana Institute of Engineers proudly. And so you wouldn't have any reasons to say that I have not acquired a diploma or a certificate or whatever, so I cannot become. Once you have those qualifications, you can become. So this is basically the few things we want to understand, and then we want to note with our presentation for this morning. We'll end here, and we would ask colleagues to bring their questions since we have less than 20 minutes to have discussions. Whatever you don't understand, we can look at that before we finish it up. Yes. Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator.
Right. Thank you very much, Ms. Makoto, for your time. But before we call for the questions, let's kindly take note that this assistance is provided assistance from Ghana Air Traffic Safety Electronics Engineers. Ghana Air Traffic Safety Electronics Engineers couldn't have done this, organized this without the support of the departments and our fellow friends as well. Please, let's kindly take note. At this point, now I see the hand of, now at this point, when you are called upon, you can kindly unmute yourself and speak. Let's begin with Yao Osei Osu.
Thank you very much, Mr. Boache, Engineer Boache. Thank you, Engineer Engineer Bismakoto, sorry. Very nice presentation. My question is very simple. Whilst you were giving your presentation, you mentioned the date we're going to write the exam. So I just wanted to seek clarifications on that. That's my first question. So if you could clarify when we were all planning to write the exam as a group. Hello, please, can you hear me?
So I'm sure Bismarck has taken note of your question. So let's invite Perkins or being AJ to ask his questions as well, and then Engineer Bismarck can address both questions.
Okay, thank you very much.
Perkins, kindly unmute yourself and speak. Perkins, I see your hand up.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Bismarck. I wasn't clear with something. You were saying that with those with HND, does it mean that we will not be allowed to take the exams until we get the first degree in electrical engineering? Is that the case? That is what I want to clarify from you.
All right. Okay. So, Engineer Otis, we can address both questions by Engineer, Osei Usu and then Perkins. Please, your questions can also come by using the chat feature.
Okay, so just as I said earlier on, all the various qualification levels have a part to play in the institution. But to answer Perkins' questions, you would have to attain a first degree before you can write for the PE exam, the Professional Engineer License exam. But if you have an HND, you can still write for the engineering technologist examination. So you may not necessarily have to have a first degree before you can partake in an exam. But mind you, if you have anything less than a degree and you write the examination, you would not be given the title of ING. You will write the examination, all right. You will become a member in terms of engineering technologies, but the title ING is given to PEs, which is those who have acquired the first degree, and upon that, they wrote the exam for professional engineering exam to becoming a PE. So the title is given to the PEs only. But if you are if you have an HND and you are writing, you can still become the a member, write an exam, and become a full member of the institution, of which it will be verified. You can practice to your end of your career, but the title will not be given to you. So that is it. But on Mr. Osei question, I don't know if he can come again with his question. I would love to also hear his question again.
All right. So I will, if it's okay with you, I will clarify his question and I will attempt to give an answer. And then you can add up if there need be. He was asking that in your submission you made mention of a certain date for the exams. So he wanted to get a clarification so that as a unified team, when is our scheduled exams?
Okay. Well, what we planned, GhIE and the department, everything we planned, or the organization, what we planned is that we're going to do a special examination for Ghana Civil Aviation, honestly, because we didn't want to find ourselves in the mass. We didn't want to find ourselves with the general examination that they are doing. Because with the general examination, you tend to have the technical review and the general interview section. You tend to have people who would be of different professional practice groups or different environment to be on the panel. And if they are from different backgrounds and they are on the panel, it becomes difficult for them to assess our members very well, because they may not necessarily be, aviation-related engineering discipline is different from all other engineering disciplines. So what we intend is that if all of us are able to pay, those who have filed and they become TPs, if they are all able to pay, 20 people, more than 20 people are able to pay, not just even our department, but the whole organization, then we can call for a special examination to civil aviation. For that matter, it will be in a matter of months, maybe by maybe next 2 months, we'll be writing the exams. But if it wouldn't be next 2 months, maybe in a matter of a month or few way, we'll be writing the exams. But if we do not get the number, which is 20 people, then we cannot call for a special examination from the Ghana Institute of Engineering. In that case, then we'll have to join the batch that are going to write the exams. Now the upcoming examination, then we may have to push all of you to join them to write that examination. And that one, the timelines I think have been clearly stated, and that will be the July. I think in the watch it will be around July, I believe.
Yes. So that is July 3rd and July 24th.
Exactly.
So let me make this quick clarification to all.
Yes.
So as you rightly said, the deadline for submission of the career report, that we don't have control. It is 11th of June. All must be submitted. So what this means is that by 11th of June, before you submit, like Engineer Otu said, if we have confirmation, more than 20 of our friends have been able to pay, because the pre-exams workshop, if not because of the COVID, we should have paid, every member should have paid 300 Ghana cedis. Now there is a debate as to whether, as when it was organized virtually, whether you pay or not. But assuming you will pay, it means they will add 150 instead of 300 to the exams fee, which is 450, being 600. And then I think that you may be required to also pay the induction fee, which is I think about 400 or 450. I stand to be corrected. So we will actually get confirmation by close of this Friday, the actual payments that needs to be done. So by the time you submit your career report, if we have confirmation from our friends that we have minimum 20 of our people making payments for the exams, then we can write to GhIE to invoke that provision therein so that the exams can be organized at GATA. But if you don't get most of you paying, then what it means is that then we have to provide assistance for you to join the general batch, where 2 exams will take off July 3rd and July 24th.
Just to add on, say, so this is the main reasons why we are trying to follow the timeline. We already had our own timeline for the examination for civil aviation, but when upon deliberations, the team that is leading this thought of it was that we would have to then push we have to push ourselves to join in the timeline that GhIE has given for an earlier examination that is yet to be conducted. So assuming that if we don't get the number 20 to the time that we are supposed to submit the career report, then we can then follow suit and then push you guys to go through the GhIE general exams. But by the time we submit the career report and we have had 20 payments, then we have already had discussion with Ghana Institute of Engineering on this already, so they are aware. Then we will just let them know that, okay, we are initiating our special examination within our aim. So those of us who are interested in writing, I think we would have to try and conduct the payment early. Just secure the money. We would get you the payment modules, because you need to pay for the examination. You need to file for PE and then pay for the examination, and they submit your career report. So we'll find the amount. Just as my boss said, by Friday, we should be able to have the figure. Then we'll be able to inform you, so that by the time you are submitting your career report, you know very clearly how much you are paying or you have also paid. And then we can have our own special examination. Friends,
Okay.
I will speak with us to make sure
Yeah.
we walk here and have the examination here.
Okay. Okay, Engineer Bismarck.
Yes, sir.
I'll say one meeting.
Please.
If your hand is
Yeah.
up, you will be called. If you have not been called, please don't interact. Is there a follow-up question on your earlier?
Yes, sir. It's a follow-up question.
Okay, so a quick one. I see other hands up as well.
Okay. Thank you very much. Engineer Bismarck and Engineer Boache, please, I wanted to make this submission that for some of us who are not well prepared to write at a very early stage, and we are ending May and we are in June, and some of I can see a lot of things in the presentation, and I know we'll have to go through a lot to get ourselves really prepared. So I wanted to know if we are organizing a special one, can't we push the dates for the exam a little back so that we can get ourselves well prepared for everything? If it's possible, it's just a submission I'm making. If it's possible.
Okay,
yes.
So
Bismarck, address it.
Address the question. Okay, so what we are trying to do is that by November, just as I said, by November, we should be able to make sure that most of our members who have satisfied the requirement within the bracket of having the minimum of 2 or 3 years TP experience should have written the exams. So we are anticipating 2 examinations, but the first fold of the examination is what we are looking at. Those who had already been a TP for a long time, even before maybe civil aviation, or perhaps civil aviation yet have acquired the requisite experience and have that muscle. We will be we'll be ready to help you. And it would not be so much of a difficult exam. Indeed, if you want to write it, you'll be able to write it. You just have to have a dedicated time for the exam, and you should be able to be fine. I mean, once you have a dedicated time for the exam, you'll be fine. There's no need to fear. We are here for you.
Right. So what we failed to earlier on notify you is that GhIE itself has its own timelines, June and October. But this time around, they decided to write in July instead of June. Nonetheless, one thing you can all be assured is that all of you, even if you are to write the exams 15th of June, all of you will pass. Because this forum organized by GhIE will not end here. We will form various groups. We will be meeting, and then, of course, some of the questions that will come, we will discuss. I mean, not the exams coming, but some of those past questions that have been written on, the discussions will be given, so that at least you have a fair idea what will be required of you, as said by Engineer Bismarck. Nonetheless, we are here for you. So if the majority feels indifferent, we will only communicate to GhIE to seek understanding if that is possible. If it is possible, why not? We will do what will make our members comfortable and more confident to do so. Otherwise, let's try to look at an earlier proposals so that if those ones fail, then we'll have a contingency. Now, I see the hand of Fidelis, Justice Mante, and Mohammed Ismail. First, Fidelis.
All right, thank you so much, Engineer Boache. Please, I want to find out, we the new engineers, we've not had much training. And then the training we had at GhIE, it didn't come with certificates. I don't know, can we use those trainings as part of our continuous professional training?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Justice as well, so that Engineer Bismarck will address our inbox.
Thank you, Engineer Boache, for the opportunity, and thank you, Engineer Bismarck, for such a wonderful and excellent presentation. My question is in line with what Mr. Fidelis also asked. But I'll be asking for we those who had our TP numbers recently. is there any arrangement so that they can also, or we can also write this PE exam? Because as Engineer Otto has explained, you would have to have this continuous training and work experience, and he explained that it's normally counted from when you had your TPA number, and it should be at least it should be between 2 to 3 years from that time. So I was wondering, is there any arrangement for those of us who had our TPA numbers recent? Maybe Engineer Bashi can also comment on that. Thank you.
All right. So let's also listen to Mohammed Ishmael, and then we can address all questions together.
Okay. You allow with almost 4 hours to midday, so I'll still say good morning to you and Engineer Otto for the nice presentation. My question is, I asked this question yesterday, but I still want to be sure, because if those of us migrating or using the HND, in case you want to migrate, yesterday I learned you need to write another exam. So is it only the exam, or you need to follow all this procedure again? Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Mohammed Ishmael. So to assist Engineer Otto, maybe let me try to answer Justice Mante's question. I want to attempt to answer that question with my own experience. I remember at the time I was applying, I had an HND, but I never applied until I had a degree. So at the time I had my degree that I was applying, I had already had a lot of working experience. So in my case, I applied for, I had already been coached, and then I had already written my career report. So I submitted my application as a TPE, and at the same time, when it was approved, at the same time, submitted my career report at the same time. So that is also very, very possible. Nonetheless, I mean, we will keep seeking clarification and better understanding. But for now, I am very convinced that if you already had some prior working experience, and then you also have minimum of those years experience as required, even though you are now applying as TPE, I strongly believe it may be applicable to proceed to the next level. You know, you could clarify or possibly add up and address the other two questions as well.
All right, sir. Thank you, sir. On Mr. Mante's question, yes. So the main key factor is the day you actually, I mean, counting from the time before you write the exam, counting from the time that you graduated. So that is the whole concept. It is believed that from the day you graduated, you must have become a member of the Ghana Institution of Engineering. So if you are looking at for the period in which you will state your most important career experiences, which is supposed to be maximum of 3 or like minimum of 2 to 3 years, you should have, I mean, finished school this number of years. So we cannot say somebody had had his degree for 15 years ago and has practiced engineering for 15 years ago, and for the fact that he just attained his TPE number, the fellow have to wait another additional 2 or 3 years to be able to acquire the requisite experience to become a PE. No, you see, that argument is usually made. If you had finished school let's say 3 years ago, let's use a 3-year category, 3 years ago, and you have practiced in an engineering field for that specific 3 years, yet you have not applied to becoming a graduate member or a TPE, and yet you had been in that position of engineering capacity, have extinguished yourself that much, then there's a clear argument to make that you have the requisite experience to write the exams. So in that case, we would have to make an argument to them that based on the time, but the qualifying thing you need to, know is that you must have had your degree 2 or 3 years ago, because that will be the criteria they will use and say their requirement is 3 years or 2 years post-graduation experience as a TPE. So if you have not done, if you have not taken the TPE number, yet you had been practicing engineering for the past 3 years, then we can make an argument and make a case, just as Engineer Boachi narrated his own experience, make a case that you were practicing, although you had not come for your number and become a TPE within that period, you were practicing. And your career report will also show that you were even practicing under a professional engineer. You understand? So yes, so those of you who just recently acquired your TPE numbers, if you have attained your degree 3 years ago, and looking at your own trajectory of experience, if you were working under an engineering practice or engineering contest, then you can qualify, but that would be subject to we making an argument for on behalf of you to satisfy for that examination. And for Mr. Muhammad Ishmael's question, you would have to migrate, because if you had written an exam as a trainee from trainee professional engineering technologist, and which is a TPET, and then you have become a trainee professional engineering technology, or you have become a professional engineering technology, sorry, which is PETS, you will not be giving the acronym of ING dot your name and then GhIE. You will not be giving that. So for you to be able to attain that status after completing your first degree, then you would have to write the exams again. So this will call for you probably making your own decision to say, well, I may not want to write 2 exams. So I would want to hold on. When I get my first degree, then I would apply. But you can also apply being a TPET in the waiting and get a number. Once you get the number, it wouldn't be as if when you finished the degree, now that you are going to be becoming a member of the institution. So if you had applied, then you can use that to make an argument. When you finish your first degree, you can use that to make an argument that I had finished my first degree last year. However, I've been a member of the institution with a number for this number of years, for these 3 years. For that matter, I am also applying to, you can make an argument like that or something like that. So just as Engineer Boachi also mentioned. And for Mr. Fidelis, I don't know if the question was about, I don't know if you can re-record the question again, because I heard about those of us, yes, okay, I think I remember the question. Yes, the training we had at GATA can be used for CPD points. So all training, engineering training courses that were given to us by civil aviation, fortunately for us, you find yourself in an organization whereby you have engineering training, which is equipment training, system training, basic concepts, and all that. So you would have a lot of accumulation of CPD points that you can gain from the engineering training that you have acquired in GCA. You can use that and convert it to your CPD points. So during Mr. Kusibe's presentation, you will see some of his training courses that he has attended, that he has converted those training courses to being a CPD points. Then you base on that to also convert your assets. So yes, it's done. And the other ways to also gain CPD points, it's some of the evening presentations and training seminars that is conducted by Ghana Institute of Engineers. Once we are a member, you get to hear of those training programs. You can log on when they're having those training programs and participate in it. They will state clearly the number of CPD points that you attain when you attend that training programs. But mostly they are of a price that you need to pay to register. So it depends on your affordability, or I don't know if the organization is willing to pay for us. I think maybe I may have addressed all the questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. For the sake of time, I see 3 more hands up. So I'm going to call in succession. First, Eric, and then Latif, then Victor Noama, and then we will summarize.
Yeah, thank you, engineers, and also a nice presentation, Engineer Bismarck. My question is a bit in twofold. The first fold is, for those of us who have had certain experience, perhaps maybe more than 10 years, and then if I have the option of going for PET, and then you also have SPET, which is also 10 years after PET, Now, would you advise me to go for PET, where I also see a trajectory that everybody's going for PE? So what would be my situation? Should I go for PET and maybe after 2 years, so maybe after having a bachelor, you say, okay, let me do PE. What about the SPET? Is there any option for those of us who have had at least 10 years experience? Should we just say, oh, let me go for PE because I've just been inducted as a TPET trainee? What will you take on that? Will it be just, okay, thank you.
Well, I think let me address this question before I forget so that we can go on the other questions. Before you can become an SPE, which is a senior professional engineer, or SPET, which is a senior professional engineering technologist, you would have to be a PE, professional engineer, or you would have to be a PET, professional engineering technologist, before you can go to senior. So if you don't go to the lower rank first, attain that class first, that next stage is attained by experience, is attained by number of years you have acquired based on the time that you became a PE or PET. So it is reference to when you became a PET, then you can, after attaining the number of requisite years, you can move to becoming an SPET or an SPE. So that is that for that one. So you need to become a PET first. But to become a PET, you need to become a TPET. And then you can become write the exam and become a PET, then progress to the ranks. I know, you see, that is the reason why we are calling for everybody to become a member of the Ghana Institute of Engineers, so that sometimes the laws and the standards and the things that will regulate the institution, we will all have to be part of it to debate and argue and make the institution better. So it's just like your argument that you are making. You have spent so many years in the institution, or let me say, you have spent so many years in practicing engineering, probably over 12 years or 10 years. Yet you would have to start from being a TPET and becoming a PET before you can spend another 10 years. Who knows whether you will be even in service? In some cases, who knows the person will be in service by the time he goes on pension before he can become an SPET. So these are things that are also even discussed at committees level of the Ghana Institute of Engineers. So if you are a member and then you are part of these committees, then you can go for meetings and debate and argue some facts so that other members who are coming in with a considerable problem, the same situation, would also be solved. And for the advice that you are asking, should you wait? Well, I think there's so many leverages you can get with the Ghana Institute of Engineers. I will advise that if for anything, you would have to join as a member. You can become a TPET just to satisfy the requirements of the November deadline of the November 2021, that you must be a member, at least either associate, student member, or whatever member it is, for you to for it to allow you to practice. So you have to satisfy that requirement. So you have to join because you don't have the degree now, but you can join and satisfy that requirement so that there wouldn't be any penal measures that will come after you. That is the first thing. And then the second thing is that when you join and you are in the process, you can leverage on so many opportunities. You see, just as I said, you might have a diploma or an HND, or you might be a technician, but you might be far experienced than someone with a degree or master's in your field. So when you become a member of the Ghana Institute of Engineers, there are several committees and other places that you can join, and also leverage on having to meet level-headed people in the industry during programs and events and all that. So before you get your first degree to migrate to write for the PE, you would have known the institution, Ghana Institute of Engineers. You have leveraged and have a lot of experience and then fraternal relations with other people. So by the time you write your PE exam, you are sailing through the institution and progressing. Let me be also clear to you, Ghana is a fraternity and an institution on its own that you can grow your career and you can get other leverages elsewhere. People get different jobs, opportunities through the institution. Once you are part of the institution, you get to have so many opportunities with the institution. So it is important to join anyway, whilst you are working on your progression to the next level. And I'm sure once you join, your skills, your talents and abilities will come to bear and you will have opportunities within the institution.
All right. So before we call on Latif, let me also add by saying that each person's situation can also be dealt case by case. Case by case. So again, I can use my situation as an example to also answer your situation. For instance, I became a member of GhIE in 2015. I mean, judging from 2015 and 2021 is 6 years. So when I was submitting on behalf of a senior application or on behalf of some senior colleagues, further inquiries got my attention drawn that from the year I graduated the degree, if it's 10 years or more, I qualify. So I think the question you are asking, you have a point, but then you cannot migrate to 2 divisions in a year. So maybe this year you become a TPE, and then next year, probably then you can attempt as an SPET. And I'm sure that your situation may be looked at, and I think that you may have the opportunity. So it is not a caveat, but I'm sure when you approach the director of operation and you are able to advance some arguments, there are always some exceptions. Latif Azindo.
Thank you very much, Engineer Boache, and then good afternoon to everybody. Engineer Otu, in your presentation, you made it clear that the technical presentation, which accounts for 40% of the total total score, whereby a candidate is given about 10 to 15 minutes to make a presentation on a project he or she has embarked on. I want to know, with this kind of project, does it very necessary? Is it necessary that the project should be something you do at your work site? Is this supposed to be related to your current work you are doing, or is just going to be any project at all? Is it supposed to be work related or any project at all? Thank you very much.
Thank you. For the sake of time, I'm sure Engineer Asibe, who is here, has taken notice and he will address it in his class. Now let's call on Victor Niama.
Okay. Thank you for the opportunity, and then also a big thank you to Engineer Otu for the wonderful presentation. Please, my question is, I read on GhIE's website that it's a prerequisite to have paid your dues to the current year before undertaking the engineering professional examination. So I want to ask, how do I confirm if GCA has paid my dues to the current year? Thank you, sir.
Boss, can we quickly address those questions? Hello, can you hear me, please?
I can hear you, so please be brief on if you want to respond.
All right.
Very brief.
So I mean, I think Engineer Theophilus Kwe or Engineer Mahama Sunga has a clear list of those who have paid for by GCA. So you can have a discussion with them and to know whether they have paid, the organization have paid for you or something. They have the list. They normally work on that. And so also on Latif's question, whether you can use, so it's any engineering, it's normally we say engineering process or a design that you have been undertaking. So it could be your first degree design that you did, but you are still, I mean, improving on it. You can use that as your work, or probably what you are doing now at Radar. If you have improvised something or done something or have identified a process that you think it can be done better at Radar, or you are proposing something, you can bring it up and then use that as your presentation to the institution. So any engineering, it's just that you cannot come with marketing or sales and present it as something that you have, no, but any engineering design process, engineering design or process, you can use it. So it's either you are done with it or you are in the process of doing it, or you are going to do it, or you are proposing you have to do it, but you have come up with a design on it. Yeah, we look at that. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much, friends, for joining. Again, earlier on, we actually sought to do the part 1 and part 2 because our understanding is that Engineer Asibe will be busy in another meeting. But the good news is that the meeting ended far earlier than we thought. I don't know whether friends here connected might want to continue with the part 2, or you might want us to wait, and then when it is 2 as scheduled, then we can continue the part 2. Before you give a response, Victor Nyama, you just joined GhIE this year, and the money you pay for your serves as dues for you this year. So if the civil aviation has to pay dues for you next year, the pay dues on your behalf, it will be from next year. So you qualify this year. So please, when you look at the reactions, you can either raise your hand up or use any of the reactions to confirm whether you might want us to continue now. Especially, may I see a show of hands, our friends here who agree that since Engineer has been able to join us, we want to continue the part 2. Or if you are not in agreement, then you can keep your hand down. All right, so we are 28 here. Okay, I see more hands coming up. That 28 here, and us the 3 administrators, so it means 25. And so far, I see 12 hands up. So it means 13 people will prefer we continue at 2 o'clock as scheduled. And okay, let me count the hands again. Yes, so yes. So yes, 12 people will want us to continue now, and 13 people will want us to continue at 2. So the 13s are in the majority. So friends, let's please meet at 2 o'clock, and then we'll have the part 2. And I trust to see most of you connect at exactly 2 o'clock. Have a nice, good afternoon. See you all at 2 o'clock.
All right. Bye-bye, guys.